In today's video, I'm going to show you how to make one of my favorite spreads, a lushy, creamy pistachio nut butter. We'll go over the best nuts to use, their textures, flavors, and visual appeals. You don't want to miss this, so stay tuned. Welcome back. If you're new to my channel, I like to talk about food, canning, jams, jellies, you name it, I love it. If you like these topics, hit that like button. That's going to help more people find the video. And also hit that subscribe button. That's going to notify you anytime I push out a new video. Now let's go over what we're going to make today, and don't worry about taking notes. All of these are going to be down in the show notes, as well as on my website, chefsanel.com. Pistachios, one of the most wonderful nuts out there and one of my favorite foods, and just like so many other wonderful foods, it comes to us by the way of ancient Persia, which is today known as Iran. Now, carbon dating has placed pistachio nuts as old as 6,700 years. So that's when we started cultivating these nuts. And mysteriously, the nuts disappeared completely from human diet for about 5,000 years. So we lost that knowledge. And it was only about 2,000 years before Common Era that we rediscovered those nuts once again and reintroduced them into the human diet. Now, pistachio trees themselves, they grow in some of the harshest conditions and soils on the planet, and some have been dated to be as old as Nancy Pelosi and even up to 300 years old. And the mild flavor of pistachios means that they don't generally take the front and center stage in any dish. They're more there for their color and their texture. But in today's dish, we are making a nut butter and we're making pistachio butter. So that means that pistachios are going to be front and center. And because of their delicate flavor, it means we have a delicate balancing act between the subtle flavors of pistachio versus anything else that we're combining with it. So we cannot combine with anything too harsh in flavor, otherwise it's going to really detract from our pistachios. Now you want to begin by finding a very high quality nut. And this is easier said than done. And it turns out that the best nuts that you want to use for pistachio butter, if you are trying to optimize for color and texture, are going to be nuts from Turkey and Iran. And the difference here is that those nuts actually they're green to the core of the nut, whereas the nuts that we grow here in California, they're actually only green on the outside, but they're brown at the core of the nut. So if you're looking for that rich green, nutty butter look and feel to it and the texture, then you're gonna have to find a local Middle Eastern store that's gonna have these kinds of nuts imported from either Iran or Turkey. If you don't care too much about the color, then you can use any of the California nuts. These nuts are far more flavorful than their Middle Eastern cousins, but as far as the look and feel, right, like you're not gonna get that same nice presentation. So depending on how you want to balance those out is going to determine which direction you're going to go with. Now for the first step, what you want to do is soak raw pistachios in hot water. And the water needs to be hot enough that you can see the steam coming out of it, but not hot enough that it's boiling. After 2 minutes, drop the pistachios into cold water. This is going to shock them and it's going to prevent them from cooking further, and it's going to help them retain their beautiful green color. Next, what you want to do is take off the pistachio skin. Now, although pistachios can be purchased shelled, I'm talking about the brown skin layer that's on the outside of the pistachio itself. By removing the skin, we're going to get a much deeper and richer green color, and we're going to remove some of that flavor that's going to be off-putting in a nut butter. So you definitely want to get the skin removed. Now, although they're shelled, the brown skin is really going to throw off the flavor, so you want to get rid of that. And this is a slow and manual process. Begin by rubbing your nuts between your fingers gently. Rub your pistachio nuts. You know what? Never mind. Wash them under cold water to separate the skin from the flesh, and most of the pistachio skin will wash off, and for those that does not, you'll have to pick through them manually. Now, no matter which nuts you're going with, whether they're American or Middle Eastern, make sure you dry them with a paper towel and then throw them in a cookie sheet to roast them for about 15 minutes at 300 degrees, and that's going to help really bring out the flavor in the nuts. Now, I really like to use cream in this recipe, and I've really gone back and forth on this particular ingredient because the drawback of using cream is that once you do, you cannot keep your nut butter out at the room temperature, so that means you have to refrigerate it. But in return, the benefit you get is that it's a far creamier nut butter that's more spreadable, and that's going to be just a lot more tastier. So whether you choose to use cream or milk is up to you. I'm using it in this recipe, but it's a totally optional step here. I also like to actually infuse this cream with cardamom seeds. So what I do is take 2 or 3 cardamom pods, I take out the seeds out of them and let them soak in the warm milk for about 10-15 minutes or so. This helps infuse the milk with a rich cardamom flavor, and that pairs really well with pistachio nuts in general. Now, all nut butters require the addition of oil, whether you're making almond butter, peanut butter, or pistachio butter. And it's best to use the oil that matches the nut that you're roasting or using. So in our case, we're going to go with the pistachio oil here. And that's going to help bring back some of the flavors you lost because we're not using very flavorful nuts here. So that helps bring some of that back, as well as because we're offsetting some of the flavor with our cream. So we're losing some of that pistachio flavor, which is a drawback of using the milk or cream. I have found that the addition of 1 lemon juice as well as zest of 1 lemon really helps pull all the flavors together because it helps to offset some of the natural fattiness of the nuts and the cream and the oils that we're using. So the acidity of that helps balance out the flavors here. So what's more is it gives this pistachio butter a truly Middle Eastern or Moroccan flavor to it, which I really like personally. And at last, pulverize your ingredients, starting with the pistachios themselves. So after the pistachios are roasted, you can throw them into a food processor, pulverize them until they turn to powder, and then you can add in your liquid ingredients. So in my case, I've combined my sugar with the milk and oil, as well as cardamom. I strained that and I added right into the bowl. What you want to do then is blend these until it becomes a rich, thick, creamy, luscious nut butter. And you can finish all of this off with just a touch of molten salt, and that's going to help accentuate all the flavors that are in your dish here. So the total yield of this whole recipe is about 200 grams. So 1 8-ounce jar. Not too much, not too little. I think it's just enough. So there you have it. That's my recipe for the pistachio nut butter. It's a nice palate cleanser from the more standard nut butters such as almond and peanut butter. I think we're all getting sick of those, especially if you're self-quarantining at home. You're probably looking for some new flavors, something different to try out. So this is a really nice way to bring something different into your daily routine. I think the most challenging part of this whole recipe is cleaning the skins off the pistachios themselves. It can be a little mind-numbing to do it, to be honest. There's a shortcut that I found really helpful in this whole process, and it's getting your significant other to do this part of the work for you so you don't have to do it. And in return, you're gonna let them eat your amazing nut butter because you put in way too much work to just share it with people if they're gonna earn their keep. So make sure if you have a significant other, that's definitely the part of the whole process that you can let them handle. And that's it for pistachio butter. Let me know if you tried this recipe, if you tried another nut butter recipe that you'd love to see me tackle, or if you've tried this one, let me know how that turned out for you. I'd love to hear from you down in the comments. If you liked this video, then like the video. If you didn't like it, leave me a comment or hit the dislike button and let me know why you didn't like it or what I can do to make it better for you next time. Don't forget to check out my channel and subscribe. I would really appreciate that if you got some value out of this video. And until next time, live long and prosper.